Am I the a-hole for telling my husband I'm not going to tell my ex-brother-in-law to stop spoiling our daughters? My ex-Di, 44 female, divorced when our daughters, Stacy 17 female and Emily 14 female, were young. About a year after the divorce, he passed away. My ex was paying child support, but that stopped the day he died. The girls inherited their father's estate, but since he was fresh into his career, it wasn't much. Things could have been rough as a single mother, but his brother stepped into his shoes. They took the girls on the weekends and basically bought the girls anything they needed, from clothing to school supplies, and bought our groceries. They also indulged the girls' every whim. Stacy loved horses when she was little, so Uncle John paid for her lessons and riding fees. Emily thought she wanted to play the piano, so Uncle Jeff paid for her lessons and bought her a piano. When the girls grew out of those phases and got interested in something else, their uncles were there ready to indulge them. I tried talking to the uncles about not spoiling my girls, but they said that their nieces needed to explore their own interests, and those explorations will help their brain developments. I disagree, but was not in a financial situation to push too hard because they were paying so much for the girls. I was basically responsible for only the rent. I later remarried to a wonderful man who brought 2 kids into the family. We had 1 more kid together, and things are good for the most part. However, kids are smart, so my daughter's step and half-sibling started to notice their sisters having more experiences and things than they do. My husband didn't like the situation, and we had some arguments about it over the years. Things came to a boiling point recently when we were discussing how to pay for our 2 oldest kids' colleges, Stacy and her stepbrother Rick, 18 male. Both are good students, and while they haven't gotten their acceptance letters, I have no doubt they'll get into good schools. My husband and I make enough money to live a middle-class lifestyle with 5 kids, but not enough to put them through college. The reality is that they'll have to take out school loans. We talked to both of them about loans, and this is when I found out Stacy had already talked to her uncles, and they're paying for her tuition and cost of living wherever she wants to go. This floored us and made my husband extremely mad. He got red and started to scream how it's not fair Stacy and Emily will get to go to expensive colleges and graduate with no loans, while our other kids will have to go to state schools and take out loans. He wanted me to call John and Jeff to tell them to stop spoiling the girls. On one hand, I agree 100% with my husband that is not fair to my other kids, but on the other hand, I can't hold my daughters back from something so wonderful. In the end, I told my husband I'm not going to tell my ex-brother-in-law to stop spoiling our daughters. Was I wrong to tell him that? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not a-hole. Your daughters shouldn't miss out from their paternal relatives just because your husband and the other children might be super jealous. Those other kids have something your oldest girls don't. Their dad. You'd be a gigantic a-hole if you were anything besides grateful for the generosity of your former husband's brothers towards your oldest children. Your daughters will never ever forgive you if you sabotage their chance to graduate without debt. Nor should they. That would be an incredibly cruel and spiteful thing to do to your children. And ironically, your husband's bitterness is making him short-sighted about the other kids' well-being. Having your girls' uncles assume the financial burden for their living expenses will free you up to help the other kids where you can. Finally, is it normal for your husband to get red and scream about financial stress or the realities of a blended family? The substance of his demands, that you sabotage your kids' opportunities, is unacceptable itself. But the way he's expressing himself is also creating an atmosphere of fear and distrust. Personally, I wouldn't consider him a wonderful man until he agrees to therapy to figure out how to cope with his frustrations without harming his family. The truth is, there's not going to be very much for the mom to do. The daughter is 17 and will select whatever college she wants to go to. I'm assuming she'll be soon 18. At the end of the day, if she chooses a college and her uncles pay for it, there's not going to be anything OP can do about it. Not a-hole for telling your husband that, but it's not really spoiling them. They've stepped up to be the father their brother couldn't be. Not a-hole. It's not fair. It's not fair that a grown man is having a temper tantrum. It's not fair as putting this on you. But most of all, it's not fair that he sees the girls as having luxury when really it's compensating for the loss of their father. I'm sure you'd all trade that money in a heartbeat to bring him back. It's not just the husband. Keep in mind that OP calls it spoiling. She's an a-hole for thinking that all these years. Now for the update. Thank you all for reading my post and answering my question. Things have gone downhill and I'm now crushed. I was at work And without my knowledge, my husband called John and yelled at him to mind his own business, told him we don't want their money and to stay out of our lives. My husband then went and yelled at the girls as they packed their bags and as they were leaving for their uncles. When I got home, my husband wanted to call the police to report them as runaways, but I talked him out of it. I went over to John's house, and his wife led me to the kitchen where we stood in silence watching John holding my girls while they cried. For a minute, I pictured their father holding them. Stacy and Emily refused to talk to me when they walked past me on their way upstairs to their room. John and I had a long conversation about the whole situation. He basically told me he's doing what his brother couldn't, and both me and my husband can go to hell if we don't like it. He said the girls should stay with him and his family until things calm down, and I agreed. So this is where we are for now. Also, to answer some common questions, 1. My husband makes less money than I do, so he's been unable to save up college tuition. 2. His ex is still in the picture and have visitation rights. She makes less money than him, so have nothing saved up, much less tuition. Next story. Am I the a-hole for defending my husband after a prank went horribly wrong? My husband, Jaden, 26, loves jokes and pranks and stuff. I'll admit I'm not one for them and find most of them dumb, but our daughter Lucy, 5, loves them. They basically do a bunch of stupid pranks to each other. And to be fair, Jaden does keep it harmless. Last month, we got some realistic-looking spider toys with other decorations. Since we got them, Jaden and Lucy have basically taken turns putting them around the house to scare each other or me. I honestly find it annoying, but the two of them love it. Lucy does usually get scared, but when she realizes what it is, she laughs and finds it funny or tells her dad off. It's actually adorable when she tells him off though. And Jaden always pretends he's scared, even when she gives it away beforehand by giggling and watching him. So about 2 weeks ago, Jaden said it to fall on her when she opened her toy box in the playroom. Lucy didn't open it, and apparently he forgot about it. Later that week we had my family over, including my brother Leon, and my nieces, Tara 3 and Zoe 6, over. Zoe was badly bitten by a spider when she was younger, even had to go to the hospital. Since then, she's deathly afraid of them. I would go as far as to call it a phobia. The kids went to play and the spiders fell on them. Zoe completely freaked out and just melted down. We came down and saw what happened. Jaden did apologize and tried to cheer her up, but Leon was furious. He basically accused us of doing it on purpose and that we should know better, and just called us a-holes. We did apologize and explain that it wasn't meant for Zoe, but my brother did not listen to him at all. Leon left early with my sister-in-law and nieces, and the whole night was kind of ruined. I've tried to talk to him after, but Leon is still pretty angry with us. It's been a week and he's still acting like we tried to murder Zoe. I've tried explaining again that it was an accident and mistake, but he basically thinks it's too convenient a mistake, and that if it is, Jaden is still an a-hole for being so immature, and I'm an a-hole for defending him. So now he basically refuses to see us unless Jaden is banned, which is ridiculous. I do feel bad that it went so wrong, and I understand that it was a horrible mistake, but it wasn't meant to happen. It was meant to be for Lucy, who likes these stupid pranks. I think Leon's overreacting and he thinks I just don't really care about my niece. Not the a-hole. You've apologized and explained what happened. If he still wants to be mad, then leave him to it. Yeah, that's true, but I would rather him come around. I would like to have my nieces around, and my husband does love all the kids. Him being banned isn't great in any way. I'm sorry, but pranks go bad sometimes. It sucks, but that's just the way it is. Those that prank other people risk alienating those who hate pranks or who are hurt by the prank. Your husband and daughter need to learn this lesson. It may take years to heal this relationship if it ever does. That is life. This isn't really a prank gone wrong though. It was Opie's own home that relatives were visiting. They just happened to have spider toys around. I get a phobia, but when you go to someone's house, you can't expect them to clear away everything you're afraid of. The bottom line is that it's sad she was scared, but it's no one's fault, and the brother just needs to get over himself and maybe work with the child on their fear to try to make it easier for her. Not stay whole in any way. It was a set of unfortunate circumstances, but nothing ill-intended for anyone. And I don't think pranks mean cruel intentions either, or that a prank automatically means cruelty or ill-intended, whether or not parties are in agreement. Hopefully Leon gets over it for the sake of his child, because I think he's making the phobia worse for the kid by acting this way. Not the a-hole. Your husband and daughter do these silly little japes as a bonding thing, And really, hiding a toy spider is so tame in comparison to what I expected when I saw the prank in the title. It's unfortunate Denise happened upon it, but stuff like that happens, and her dad is definitely overreacting. He doesn't get to dictate your family dynamic, and he doesn't get to push such ultimatums on your family either. I definitely agree. While it's dumb, they love it, and it helps them have fun. I know Jaden really ramped it up with her during the lockdowns and helped them. I do wish he hadn't forgot and we avoided this. But I agree Leon is being too much. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not going to my sister's birthday party because she refused to apologize for ruining my reputation? I, female 28, have a younger sister, Jody, female 23. So, Jody is a single mom. She has a daughter, female 6. I frequently help her out by picking up my niece from school and babysitting for a few hours for free so that Jody can work. Jody lives with our parents and a boyfriend, male 26, who she's been seeing for a couple of months. In early October, at one point, Jody accused me of using the family computer in our parents' home to go on gambling websites and signing up with our mom's debit card while I was babysitting. I told Jody that's not true at all and asked her why on earth she would think that. Jody explained that money was disappearing from our mom's bank account and that she checked the computer's browser history and that gambling websites came up. To be honest, I was kind of offended that Jody would think I'd do something like that. I've never had a gambling problem and I've never stolen from anyone. I told Jody that that's awful, but that it wasn't me who did it. She didn't believe me and went and told a load of our extended family that I was apparently stealing our mom's money to go on gambling websites. And now they all think I'm a horrible person. And many of them have blocked me on Facebook. Anyway, the next week Jody got back in touch with me. She said that she found a gambling website on her boyfriend's phone and connected the dots. And he admitted that it was him who was stealing our mom's money and going on gambling websites. However, Jody refused to apologize to me for jumping to conclusions and basically ruining my reputation with our extended family. Sure, I never speak to them anyway, but it's still a terrible reputation to have, especially when it's undeserved. Jody said that it's my own fault, because apparently, I acted guilty and said that I got too defensive when she accused me. Later in October was Jody's birthday and she had a big party with our extended family. I decided to give Jody her gifts a couple of days before, but refused to go to the party. I didn't want to go because I didn't want to deal with all the questions and judgment, and I was still really angry at Jody for not even apologizing for what she did. My parents are understanding, but Jody said I'm an a-hole for not attending her party and that if I'm going to be that way, then I shouldn't bother being part of the family, and accused me of being petty. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If Jody and her boyfriend are still together and part of the family, then everyone but you is an a-hole. They are still together, but her boyfriend is now in therapy and going to gambling addiction support groups. I would divorce my husband without hesitation if he stole from my parents like that, but I suppose it's a step in the right direction. Not the a-hole. Your sister sure is, and possibly your parents. Honestly, I would go either low contact or no contact with your sister. She is sure quick to blame you for something you didn't do. I wonder what else she can blame you for. Oh, and then she is pretty much kicking you out of your family? What makes her in charge? Question: do your parents know that you didn't do this? If so, haven't they stuck up for you? You said that they are understanding. I'm assuming as to why you didn't go to your sister's birthday party, yet they don't have you back at all? Couldn't they reach out to those extended family members and set them straight? Jody said I'm an a-hole for not attending her party and that if I'm going to be that way, then I shouldn't bother being a part of the family. Oh, and they're okay with your sister pretty much kicking you out of your family? My parents know I didn't do it. I tried to reason with Jody before she announced it to our extended family, but she didn't listen to them. They didn't want to try to persuade our relatives otherwise without Jody confirming it wasn't true to them, because they were worried it was going to make me look worse, and like they're enabling my fictional gambling addiction. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-husband's son that my daughter is not his sister? My ex-husband's son, Carl, was born during the course of our marriage, and I was in a vulnerable space, so it didn't make sense for me to leave. Carl's mother got institutionalized a few months after he was born, and my ex got full custody. Now, I wasn't a mom to him at all, just a responsible adult who cooked meals for him, kept him safe, and looked after him when he was sick. I finally left my situation when Carl was 3, and I still babysit Carl sometimes because I'm the only one he feels comfortable with other than his own daddy. Now, after struggling with infertility for years, I had a surprise baby with my friend Will. It was a shock for both of us, but we decided to embrace the gift and co-parent together. Will is my best friend, and his son Aiden, 5 years old, is a doting big brother to my daughter, now 7 months old. The other day, I was babysitting Carl for a few hours. With the kids, Carl and Aiden got into a fight over my daughter. Carl told Aiden that my daughter was his sister and not Aiden's. I gently explained to him that even though he was not my daughter's big brother, he could definitely be her buddy. He was inconsolable, and I had to tell him that Aiden was indeed her big brother. My ex is furious with me for telling him that my daughter isn't his sister. He thinks that my comments were harsh and inappropriate for a 5-year-old. But I think that my comments were okay. I don't want to confuse a little boy and create expectations and disappointments down the line. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. The only way this child could have come up with the idea that a babysitter's baby was his sister is if dad was drilling that idea into his head. Not the a-hole. He isn't her brother. Set that boundary now. It's foolish for his father to say otherwise when that simply isn't the fact. Don't allow him to lie to his son. Perhaps work on seeing the boy less. He should be with his family anyway. I'm trying to set that boundary. I have a lot of empathy for the little boy and I care about him. Will and I are on the same page regarding this issue, but my ex refuses to see my reason. I find it odd that you're still talking to your ex, but I digress. You need to set a clearer boundary and cut off the child, or you will continue to have issues with him thinking he's closer to your family than he actually is. I don't talk to my ex. I just babysit Carl when my ex can't arrange childcare. I do it because he's a little kid who needs a responsible adult caring for him while his father isn't around.